Well, this afternoon I've got Jeff Miller, who's making a run for the Bradley County District Attorney. His family and Jute have been friends of mine for years. It's going to be a great discussion. Jeff, what's a nice day, isn't it?
It is. It's beautiful out there for February.
What's it, 65?
Yeah, it's really, really nice. And, we've had a lot of nice days in February.
We have.
Year.
It's been unseasonably warm.
Yeah, my daughter was born on Groundhog Day, and so the groundhog didn't see its shadow. It's going to stay out. I think they say we're going to have an early spring.
Well, some people say that we'll have another 2 weeks of cold weather. When was it we had the big snow in March?
Oh, gosh, I can't remember.
But boy, it melted like in 2 days, didn't it?
I remember the snow, but I don't remember what year it was.
It seems like it was 2004 maybe or something.
On the courthouse square at 30 2nd Street is the law firm of Logan Thompson Law. Since 1965, they have served the legal needs for the good citizens of Cleveland, Bradley County. If you've got a problem, they're no problem. Give them a call.
Is your birthday close to mine? Are you a Scorpio?
I am. I'm November the 9th.
I'm the 10th.
Okay. Well, how about that?
Isn't that something? I don't know why I remembered that.
Yeah. Well, my buddy Mike Thomason, his birthday's November the 8th, so every year I give him heck because I say, hey, old man, because we're the same age at 1 day difference, but I always give him heck.
That's the way me and Alvin Calhoun is. His is on the 3rd, I think.
Okay, great.
And so he's... And Robert Bagby's on the 12th. Anthony Gray is on the 12th.
Yeah.
It's funny how Johnny Carson, I think, was on the 10th.
Was it really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I believe so.
I like Johnny.
You think there's any correlation to your sign, to your personality?
I'm not sure about that. I don't know. If God wants there to be, I'm sure there is, but I don't know if he's made that relevant to us, or if he's revealed that to us yet.
It seems to me like a lot of people under that sign, under the certain signs, do carry some of the same characteristics.
Yeah, I would say so. They say that being a little bit of a hothead or something like that, and well, I guess being redheaded when I was young.
Redheaded.
I've gone blonde now, but being redheaded.
Was you redheaded?
I was, yeah. Don't you remember?
I don't remember that.
Oh yeah, I had red hair.
Not real red.
Oh yeah, everybody called me red on the head. Now I mean all kinds of different things.
I never knew you had red hair.
Yeah, and
you're a lot older than me, right?
I'm 61 years old.
So you're a little bit older than me.
Yeah. It was a joke because when I was a kid, I would be running around with my dad everywhere, and somewhere along the line, somebody asked, well, where did he get that red hair?
Yeah.
And then I heard somebody joke, was it the milkman or something like that? And I didn't really understand what it meant. But one day I was at the dentist office, and Dad had taken me to the dentist, and old Doc Keelan over in Polk County. Do you remember Doc Keelan? I was in his office, and one of his ladies asked me, said, where'd you get that pretty red hair? And I said, the milkman. And he just busted out laughing, and Dad just laughed, and it was a big, and then after that I did it every time somebody would ask me. But
how long's you been dead?
Oh dear, I'm not good at that, but I think about 10 years or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, way too early for my taste.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was cutting hair on a Thursday, and then called me Friday morning and said, Jeff, I'm going to go to the hospital. I said, I've had the rash develop overnight, and I'm going to go to the hospital. And so he went to the hospital, and I met him down there in Memorial, and they admitted him that day. They couldn't find out what the source of it was. They admitted him, and a month to the day after he'd been admitted, he never came out, and passed away in the hospital. So
what was it he had?
Well, he had very, very harsh arthritis, and he was taking the harsh drugs, the Remicade, the Embriol, and if you'll listen real closely, they'll tell you that those drugs break down your immune system. Well, then he got an infection that I didn't realize that he had, an infection on his leg, and he could not fight it off, and so that's ended up being what killed him, is sepsis or infection through the blood and that sort of thing. But yeah, he was one of a kind, and I miss him every day. We talked at least twice a day, and most of the time we'd see each other and talk and on the phone or whatever, and he was just a really huge part of my life, as most people would think, but really special relationship that I had with him.
I got an interesting story about him. I went to work for the county assessor's office, and we had to go to something in Nashville that was some kind of a meeting.
Yeah.
And all the county, the registrar's office and his office, the tax collectors all went.
Yeah, county officials.
And so me and him, the motel rooms were close together, and we walked down into the lobby, and he said, "Hey, Dee," he said, "are you real interested in going to this seminar?" And I said, "No." He said, "Me either." He said, "How about's me and you?" I remember it. He said, "How about's me and you get a cab and go downtown and eat?" And boy, we had the best 4 or 5 hours there. We went downtown and ate, just me and him, and it was
that's great.
It was really really had a good time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I never will forget. Wonder why I don't remember anything else about the trip except that.
Well, there you go.
Now, was he was out on he was friends with my Uncle Joe Ornby.
Oh, yeah.
What was,
yeah.
I mean, like, grew up together. What was there, did he live, he used to say, Jute stayed over at his house a lot.
I think they went to Trevina together, Trevina School. I'm not sure, but I think that
Not Trevecca, Trevina.
Trevina. Yeah.
Over, past York Road?
Yep.
On the right.
Yeah. Not there anymore.
I think it's a house now of some sort.
But I think he has a lot of fond memories from the people that went to Trevina. And he talked about Joe being a really good athlete, too. I remember he would say, he'd brag on him as being a really good athlete back in school. And
he just had surgery yesterday. I hadn't heard the results, some kind of something.
Oh,
because that's my uncle.
Okay, yeah.
So they were about the same age. Would you have been about 86 today?
Something like that, yeah. October 16th was his birthday.
Where were they raised out there?
Chestuie Road, out off of Water Level Highway. You just turn left on Chestuie Road. You go about 2 miles past the Chestuie Methodist Church. And then just on past that, there's at the Gatlin Road intersection there, York Road and the Gatlin Road back down that way. And it was the corner right there, and it was the Kirkpatrick farm. And my grandfather, Arthur Miller, was a sharecropper for Mr. Kirkpatrick. He lived on the property, did the farming, and he was a subsistence farmer and did that, and that's where Dad grew up. And after a while, I think the Kirkpatricks decided to do something different with their land, and so my grandfather had to move to town, and he lived off of Euclid Avenue. It was really close to the enamel plant, and he worked at the enamel plant, and he could walk to work. My grandfather was crippled. He had a pin in his leg, and he never did get a driver's license, never did have a driver's license, so he had to walk and thumb everywhere he went and all that. So he worked really lived really close to the enamel plant the latter days of his working life. And but when Dad was growing up, it was out there off Chestuie Road.
That must have been till he was in his junior high or something like that, maybe.
I think he lived out there. He lived out there when Mom and Dad started dating. My mom went to Polk County High School, and somehow they got introduced to each other, and so I think he still lived there on Chestuie Road whenever they started dating. And their first date was to the Shake Shack restaurant.
To the Shake Shack, on 64th.
Yeah.
Which is still open.
It's still there, still there. It's amazing. It's been through different ownership, but it's still there. and I enjoy going there to reminisce every now and then. But yeah, he lived out there, and then whenever he had the opportunity, he bought that place from Mr. Kirkpatrick, Marvin Kirkpatrick, who used to be a county commissioner here in Bradley
that's
County,
right, yeah.
and he inherited it from his dad, and then Dad bought it from him, and we called it the old home place. And
What'd he do with it then?
he ended up, after I went to law school and came back to town, he ended up building a house out there.
Is that right?
That's where he lived when he died. Him and Mom.
I didn't realize
Yeah,
that.
they built a house out there and lived out there. Nice place.
He always liked fresh vegetables, didn't he?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Tomatoes.
Yeah.
He'd come in with I remember he'd come in with a little bag of tomatoes. And
Oh yeah. He had a really good green thumb, and that's one thing that I have the biggest. One of my biggest regrets is not learning more from him about his gardening. At the time when I was young, he would make me get out there in the garden with a hoe, and I didn't find it to be fun at all, and I resisted it, and I wished I had embraced it a little bit more. But my sister Ginger, she's a really good gardener too. I haven't made a garden yet. I do flowers. I like to do flowers, but I'm gonna make a garden one of these days. It might be this year. I'm gonna try.
it's so hard to have time.
Yeah,
Golly.
yeah. But I'm gonna try to do a little. First, I'm gonna try to do a little raised bed garden.
Yeah.
In the back and see how that goes. I've grown tomatoes before. I've done pretty well at growing tomatoes, but I'm going to try that. Now I had a batch of jalapenos last year. I did grow some jalapenos and did real well with those. But anyway, I want to try to expand that a little bit this year.
I did a raised railroad tie garden, like 12 by maybe 10 or something.
Yeah.
Made it look real nice, up to where you didn't have to bend over and you could sit down on the side.
Yeah.
And I never planted nothing in it. It was just couldn't ever get it done.
Yeah, well, you had it there. That's great. Well, maybe you'll do it this year.
Maybe I will. It's still there.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask you something about, did he cut hair with lightning or not? You remember Lightning, the guy that used to cut hair?
No, I'm not sure who you're referring
He was
to.
he was where, next door to Zane Harris's real estate.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about, yeah.
So he never cut hair
he
with him.
didn't. He started at the OK Barber Shop down there off Church Street. It's still there today. The barber pole's still there.
Yeah.
He started there with Reed Evans and George Robertson. They were the barbers that took him in. He was going to barber school when I was ready to be born, and right after I was born, he started there and worked there for several years, and then he moved up the street to the Jute's barber and hairstyling shop that he had on Church Street. It was just about a block and a half up from the OK Barber Shop. It's a parking lot right now. It was owned by the old American National Bank, Cleveland National Bank, and then later on First American Bank, and they decided to tear it down and make parking out of it. And so then after that, he moved down to I think it's 2nd Street.
Second, right close to Inman.
Right where those townhomes are being
And
built
that's where I
now.
knew him.
Yeah. That's he was there until he ran for county trustee, and did that for 24 years. And then after he retired from county trustee, he moved back to the OK Barber Shop, and that's where he was cutting hair on the Thursday before.
He enjoyed cutting hair.
Oh
didn't he?
gosh, he did. He loved it. He absolutely loved it. And even with his arthritis, he would make himself, suffer through it and everything. But he really liked it.
You know, I remember when he was running for his election, they ran an ad that Jude had been clipping people for years. Do you remember that?
I don't.
I remember that.
Were they trying to diss on him? Or
It was just it sounded bad unless you knew he cut hair.
Exactly.
He'd been clipping people for years.
Well, that's politics, I guess.
I guess. So now that, do you look back and think of Jude as if he was here today, do you think you'd be talking to him about the election and how you're going to run and what you should do and what you shouldn't do?
Yes, absolutely. He had a lot of common sense. He knew people. He knew how to relate to people. I want to believe he taught me some of that. Some of that rubbed off on me, but he was real big on making sure that you treated the bank president and the man in overalls the same way. And
he would have treated the guy in the overalls better, probably.
Well, he related to everybody. I mean, he wasn't as educated as, he didn't go to college or anything like that, but he had a lot of people sense and smart sense and common sense. And I would take advice from him today, I'm sure. And I think he would enjoy, and I think he would be proud of what I'm trying to accomplish right now. And I want to do everything first to honor God, but I want to honor the good name that I've been given as well. And he would be a big part of that, I'm sure.
You ever think back, what would you do?
Well, I do. Yes, I do, because he has given me really good advice that still echoes in my memory today. So yes, I'm sure.
When you started, what made you want to become a lawyer rather than cut hair or do something in those terms?
Yeah, I wanted at first to be a football coach and a teacher. And that was kind of where I was headed until I was about a junior in high school. And I got Dr. George Nairn. Do you know George?
Didn't he always wear a pencil over his ear?
Well, I don't remember that much about him, but he was my American government teacher, and he was also a huge part of my life because he was my FCA, the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, sponsor. And I was the president of the FCA at Bradley Central, and he and I worked very close together. And he said, Jeff, he saw something in me, I guess. He said, Jeff, I want to just tell you that I know you want to be a coach and a teacher. And he said, that's a noble profession. That's what I do. And I won't, he said, but I just want you to know that if you want to make money, you better do something else, because he said you're not going to make a whole lot of money doing this. And he was kind of telling me in his way that he thought that I had a gift for something else, and then it just started dawning on me, and I thought, well, I think I want to be a lawyer. I knew I wanted to be in politics at an early age. And so I thought to myself, how's the best way to get into public life or to office? And then that took me back to being an attorney. And so, and I've always had a servant's heart, and an attorney, I know it gets the butt of a lot of jokes, and I'm not immune to those. I can joke along with the best of them, but at the end of the day, they help people. Attorneys are they're service oriented, and they help people. Now we get paid to do it, and it's a good living, but it's service oriented, and that's where I think my political life, or my seeking political office or public office, is that as well. That's the way I look at it.
Is that what prompted you to run for district attorney?
It is. I've served as state senator for 12 years before, and I term limited myself there, and came home to put my adult daughters up through proms, graduations, cars, college weddings, and all that. So, then, while I've been home, our world's changing so much, Dee. Our world's changing fast, and I see these rogue DAs, Fannie Willis, Letitia James, Alvin, I can't remember his last name right now, but the one in Manhattan. Then you got Kim Gardner in St. Louis. All these rogue DAs. There's a rogue DA in Memphis right now, a Soros-backed DA in Memphis that's just causing all kinds of of havoc. And I just saw that happening, and I just saw it creeping toward us here in southeast Tennessee. And that's one thing that brought me to the table. I wanted to make sure that someone in our area had the right demeanor and the right temperament, and to be able to stand up to some of that that's going on in other parts of the country, to make sure it doesn't come here. And I do believe that I have the right temperament and demeanor to lead that office in the best way.
You know, crime is always been here, hasn't it? Always will
It
be.
it has, but now, you know, I think when we just in our daily lives, I've lived here all my life. You have all your life. I don't think of Cleveland and Southeast Tennessee, McMinn, Monroe, Polk counties. I don't think of them as being a huge haven for crime, but there is crime here, and we do have problems. There's drugs that we need to address. But we don't have a ton of violent crimes, like murders. We have some, but not as many as a lot of places have. But it's important to note that with population expanding, the border, southern border being open, things are shifting. We're getting a lot of people here from other states that are fleeing to come to Tennessee. It's a great place to be. The secret is out, and so we're getting more and more population, and with that, we're going to have a growing threat of crime. So I want to be a part of that to make sure that we have policies in place across southeast Tennessee to make sure that we deal with that in the right way and promptly and severely. In the event of violent crime or home invasions or drug dealers, we're going to deal with that in the harshest way possible. We're not going to give any leeway in my administration to those type of problems.
Do you think that if the DA's office, if there was no murders and there was no drug crimes, then they would focus on prosecuting lesser crimes? Do you think they just want to prosecute with all the time that they have, or do you think their main job is to focus on the real issues? Does that make sense?
It does, and I think that if you don't have I think they would stay busy. In other words, they would prosecute whatever crime was there to try to make this community the best and the safest that it could possibly be.
You know, I went to the Target this morning to get some NyQuil, and she got wanted my ID. I thought, well, it must be some reason, so I gave her my ID. I thought to myself, if I didn't have an ID, would that have been a crime? Or is it just a monitoring thing, or is it just Target's policy? I mean, what starts that?
Well, I'm very proud of that. Now, did you pick it up off the shelf and then take it that they wanted to see your ID?
Yeah.
Well, when I was in the state senate, was that we had a blooming meth problem in our area across the state, really. But we dealt with that over in Nashville by passing legislation that put Sudafed and the ingredients that they use to make meth behind the counter and make people have to show ID and sign for it to get it.
Like Mucinex and stuff.
Yeah, anything that they use to make meth with. So I'm very proud of that. I think that that's a good thing, and it has drastically cut down on the number of meth labs that we have. Now, we still have them.
But now, so you can take Mucinex or NyQuil and make meth, I guess. I guess it's got the Sudafed in it.
It does, yeah.
So
I think so, yeah. So
what if I didn't have it? What if maybe it's a 21 thing. That may be what it is.
Yeah.
More of a
Well,
21-year-old,
yeah.
which probably
Yeah,
it
that, in
curbs
that
it.
instance, it's probably yes.
Yeah.
But
And if I went back and got it 6 more times, it might have rung a bell or
yeah,
some sort.
exactly. Or if a investigator found something that would indicate that they could go back to the drugstore
Yeah.
and find out who had bought it and that sort of thing.
I guess, yeah.
And maybe start interviewing somebody, that had signed for it or whatever to try to trace it down.
But just somebody getting it 3 times in a row is not a district attorney's affair,
No,
obviously.
I don't think so. No, especially now. No, I
Yeah.
don't think that.
So the district attorney is really just looking for major stuff that's,
Well, that's going to be my priority as district attorney. I'm going to focus on violent crime. I'm going to treat home invasions as if they're violent crime. And I'm going to go after and to identify and go after the fentanyl dealers. When I say treat as violent crime, I mean seek maximum punishment without any kind of plea deal downward. You either plead to the maximum punishment or we take you to trial and we try our best to convict you. And so given that kind of priority to those type of crimes, hopefully the word will get out that we're tough on it here and take that stuff somewhere else. Don't bring that around the 10th Judicial District.
if you're not tough on it, then they'll do it, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think it gets to be, if you're not afraid to do something like that, then you're more likely to have it. Just the other day, we had a front page in the Cleveland Daily Banner. We had a woman that had killed her husband. As the news article read, she was mad at him because he wanted to go to bed because he had to go to work the next day, and she wanted to talk, and she wasn't ready to let go of the talk. So she ended up getting a pistol out of somewhere, the drawer, I guess, and she shot it into the closet to get his attention. Well, it got his attention. He got up and left and went to the bathroom. Well, then she follows him to the bathroom, and in the news article it said that she pointed the gun at his face and meant to pull the trigger and shot him and killed him. Well, she ended up pleading to a deal of 17 years in prison. And I just think, that was murder. That was not, I mean, she meant to pull the trigger. She had just fired the gun before she knew it worked.
2 shots is a big deal.
Yeah. So she obviously, and I just don't understand why she got off with a second-degree murder plea deal. So that's the kind of thing that we're not going to do if I'm elected.
The general public does not understand that type of stuff.
No,
They don't understand
Yeah.
it. Now, there may be a reason or something or some legality, but the general public does not
And they don't
understand
like
that.
it either.
They don't like it.
No, they don't like it at all. And I understand that. And the victims of crime, I bet you that gentleman's family don't like it either. I bet they don't understand it and don't like it.
Now, it could have been a fit of rage and bad mood, but man, that goes beyond all that.
Yeah,
You just
it
really
does,
can't
it
make an
does.
excuse for that,
Yeah.
can you?
Well, that was on the front page of the
Yeah.
Cleveland Daily Banner just a couple weeks ago, and I was just like, okay, this is why I'm running. You're right there. That's one of the reasons I'm running.
Do you think that all of these departments, DA, Registrar's Office, Assessor's Office, the office that Jude was in, they're all very important to what makes this whole thing tick?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, without it, I don't know how everything, it'd just be, at least it's organized chaos.
Yeah.
At least, right?
Yeah. Well, you have to have an orderly society. You have to have a register of deeds to record land transactions. That's very big in your business.
And that's a lot to have that protected. How would I protect it myself?
Right. No,
I couldn't do it.
You couldn't.
I got the deed back here. I'll show you. That wouldn't work.
You'd have you'd be subject to fraud. You'd be
Yeah.
subject to selling one piece of property several
Right.
different times.
With no road frontage or something.
Yeah. So that, and then Dad's, Dad's office was the county trustee. That office collects the taxes, the property taxes for the county, and invests those taxes in the proper place. And Mike Smith is currently in that job and doing an excellent job doing that. And so that's a very, very necessary function of government too. Then you've got the clerk's office, the county clerk, who issues the car tags, marriage license, keeps up with that. That's very necessary. Then you've got the assessor of property, the one that you used to work in, Stanley Thompson, a very important function to plat everything out and to assess the property and put the right value on it so that we can get the right taxation amount for it and that sort of thing. So, yeah, but the best time the government is operating is just sort of under the radar. You don't really want the government to be in the spotlight too much. You'd rather it just be operating and clicking smoothly and doing its function without being in the news a lot.
You know, that's a good point. I've never thought about that.
Yeah.
That's when it's going good.
That's when it's going the best, yeah.
You don't even know that there's that department.
Yeah.
That's profound. I hadn't thought of it that way. Like the election commission. You don't hear nothing about that.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
I mean, because if you were hearing something about it, it would mean the integrity of our elections was in question. So yes, Fran does an excellent job, and her staff, making sure that we have clean, fair elections. But that's what we deserve. That's what we need. And being under the radar is perfect. That's not like other places, as you can see. You know, we have other places where, and in Georgia, those elections are in question. You know, Michigan,
Nobody even questions here.
Nobody questions it here. You're right. Yeah. Trey Hargett is also, he's the Secretary of State, and so he's responsible for the elections over all the state, and he's doing a great job from that level as well.
I bet we've got a lot of departments that I'm not even aware of, you know, that's in Bradley County, you know, because we don't have a list of all the departments, but I bet there's, you know, you got the Sheriff's Department. And
oh, yeah, yeah.
Do you think you'll work well with the Sheriff's Department?
I know I will. I have good relationships with all of the sheriffs right now, so I'm very confident that I'll be able to work well with them. I know them and they know me, and so all that we need now is to get together and collaborate, come up with a good plan, and execute our plan to make the boundaries of the 4 counties here in the 10th Judicial District the safest possible. They all like each other. I think all the sheriffs in all 4 counties like each other, and they get along, and I think they meet regularly already. So,
well, that's a good idea.
Yeah, it is. It is because a lot of times people will cross county lines to commit their crimes or their offenses, and they need to know that each of them are going to stand up for each other.
Well, what about that poor old policeman that ran into the sheriffs? And that's so terrible.
That's tragic.
On both ends, for him and her.
Yeah.
You know, I never noticed that. I never noticed that off ramp over there. I guess, but somebody told me that the road does turn. If you're not extremely familiar, that you would drive off. But I haven't ever noticed that.
He apparently didn't know the roads as well as folks that have lived here longer. And that's apparently, it's just very tragic. And the young lady in the back, that's a tragedy.
Oh, terrible, terrible.
I can't fathom, but it just goes to show you that every morning when those people go to put their uniform on every day, they put their life in jeopardy, whether it's something like that or at the hands of some criminal that's trying to do something. But yes, very tragic, and I just pray strongly for his family, her family, and all involved in that they'll find peace in that somehow.
Do you remember when they built that bridge? Did you ever go across the ferry much?
Yeah. I loved it. I loved it. You know, I had some family that lived in Decatur, and so we every now and then on Sunday we'd have to jump the ferry and go over there to see them. And
that was a big ordeal, wasn't it? They had to pull you,
Yeah.
direct you in,
Yeah.
put the car in park.
Oh yeah.
I guess I think I went, the last time I went there, I was probably 21, something like that.
Yeah.
So it's not been that long.
No, not at all. Now, that brings to mind one of the first official acts that I had as a state senator in 1994 was to go to the dedication of that bridge that, eventually that put the ferry out of business, Now, I didn't have anything to do with the funding of that bridge, but I got to go the day they dedicated it. And,
What year was that, did you say? 94?
Yeah.
94.
Yeah. It might have leaked into 95 because I was elected in November the 9th, my birthday of 1994. And so it might have been the spring, but I had just started in the state Senate when I went over to that dedication.
I wonder if there's many. Did you have to pay to go across the ferry? I don't remember that.
Yes, yeah, there was a fee.
So the ferry had a fee. Wonder how much it was.
It wasn't a whole lot, but that was part of the dispute or the part of the controversy at the time, because the state was putting a business out of business by building that bridge, and so I remember that being part of the discussion of the day is that, hey, how are you going to compensate these folks that this is their livelihood? You're going to put them out of business, kind of thing. But obviously, if you think about it, the common good it would be for that bridge to be there, and it's opened up a lot of commerce between Ray County and Bradley County and Hamilton County. It's a
Before
great
that, you just have to have family over there or go there on business to go across.
It definitely wasn't something that you would do just to go shop at the mall or something like that. We get a lot of commerce from Ray County now because it's a very short drive now to get over here to come to our shops and everything.
What, 25 minutes maybe?
Yeah, it's not bad at all.
It's not bad at all.
And practicing law over there, I enjoy going to the Ray County Courthouse, and it's just a skip and a jump. It's not that bad at all.
Boy, that Bryant College and all that, the park down there, it's really something to see.
It really is, and they got the water,
They got a lot more water than we do that's really downtown.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, it's really nice. And just last year, I was on a boat ride with some of our friends, and I don't have a boat, but I have friends that have a boat, and I'm glad to have them. But they invited us, and we went all the way in to eat at that restaurant in Dayton. I can't recall the name of it right now, but had a really good time.
Something house, maybe Brick House or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. It was really nice.
Now, if you had to, I always wondered how the toll roads and stuff. I always remember the ferry on Outlaw Josie Wells.
Yeah.
When that guy he had to pull the rope. So you could, if you had a big, large piece of property, I guess you could put your own road and have a toll. It'd never be profitable, but I guess you could. It'd be legal, wouldn't it?
Well, I'm not sure about that. I don't know if there's any prohibitions about that or not. But
It'd be interesting to know if there was.
I'm sure you'd have to have permits, and I'm sure the state would want their hand in the pie somehow. But I don't know about that.
But now, if you go to Georgia, they've got the 400. Isn't that a toll road or something like that?
Yeah, but now see, that was a big thing because we wanted to, when I was in the Senate, we wanted to improve Highway 64, the River Gorge, and trying to improve that road quite a bit. And thoughts were, well, we can't afford it. And then we thought, well, let's just make it a toll road. People would probably, pay to be able to travel on that road. But we don't have toll roads in Tennessee. And so I believe they're prohibited because we don't have them now, and we had a debate about whether or not we could make that one. And I think we take pride in Tennessee as paying for our roads as we go. We've got a gas tax, and we don't owe any money for any of our roads in Tennessee. We we pay for them as we build them, and we've got some of the best roads in the country. Trucker Magazine had rated, now this was back when I was in the Senate, I don't know where we are now, but Trucker Magazine rated Tennessee as number one
Is that
in
right?
the interstate and the road systems, and we didn't know a dime for any of it. By the time Georgia or places that have these toll roads get through paying for one, it's time to build, so they're constantly in debt on their roads. And Tennessee is not that way.
You could almost argue that Tennessee may be one of the best states to live in. When you talk about, this where you get paid for part of your school. What is that?
The vouchers and
from the lottery.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Tennessee Promise.
Yeah.
With no tax, no state tax. We're not hugely in debt. I mean, and there's probably 50 other things that wonder what set Tennessee on that path. It had to be something.
Well, I'm glad you asked. This is a point of pride for me. But I went into the state senate in 1994. That very year, the lottery was up for vote. And the House of Representatives in Tennessee passed it overwhelmingly. I don't remember the exact vote. But the state senate, we voted it down by one vote. I voted against the lottery by 1994, and every year it would come back up. Every single year it would come back up. It would always pass the House by a large majority of votes, and it would always fail in the Senate by one vote. It would get 16. It needed 17 votes in the Senate to pass. And so that went 8 years. Well, some things happened in there. When I was running for re-election one time, Donna Hubbard was running against me, and she was beating me over the head about the lottery. That was one thing. And, we live here in Southeast Tennessee. We border Georgia.
Yeah.
And then, my mom and dad, as conservative as they were and as Christian as they were, they would get in their car every now and then and go down to Georgia and buy a lottery ticket and come back.
Yeah.
And I noticed that Georgia had not been, it hadn't gone to Hades in a handbasket. It had the lottery, and but the conservatives were against it. The conservative Republicans were against it, but finally, I was re-elected the second time, and Phil Bredesen was the governor. And finally, I decided that I was going to change my vote. And so I let it be known that I was going to change the vote. And so there was a lot of happiness about that in certain circles. But I said, I'm only going to do it if we dedicate the money to a college scholarship program. And I got a lot of flack over that, a lot of browbeating over that. They said, no, just put it in the general fund. We'll do what's right with it. We'll do, I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to put it in the general fund and just grow government. It's going to have to go to a dedicated purpose. And then I got some flack to say, well, let's go to K through 12. We need money from K through 12. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, I get that. But unfortunately, we had the example of Florida, who dedicated their lottery to the K through 12. But then the state legislature would just back out the money they had been giving to the K through 12 and let the lottery supplant what they had been giving. And I said, I didn't want that to happen. I said, it's going to have to be a new program, kind of like the lottery in Georgia, the Hope Scholarship. We're going to have to do it that way, or I'm not going to go along with it. Oh, you wouldn't believe the times they pulled me in the back rooms and just trying to, browbeat me into changing my mind, and I just held fast, and I said, no, it's going to be this way or no way. And I'm proud to say that passed the House by its normal large amount of vote, and it passed the Senate by my one vote.
Is that right?
17. I was number 17. And that's historical. You can go back and look at that. But we put the language in there where the public had to vote on it. It was a constitutional amendment that had to pass. But the language that was in the constitutional amendment made the money dedicated to the Lottery Scholarship Fund. And so every time I see a commercial on TV and I see all that stuff, all the money and all those diplomas and caps, and I just beam with pride because I know that that's one contribution that I made when I was in the Senate for 12 years that has a lasting impact. And I've got so many friends and family that have used and had the Hope Scholarship for their kids, and it's just been a real blessing to me to have been a part of that. And not everybody was for it, and not everybody likes the lottery now, but I think overall it's done a lot more good than it has anything bad.
Have they reversed it, or does the money still go just to that?
It still does. It still does. Yeah. Now they can have some. If you have some surplus, they can use the surplus for trade schools like Athens.
Which is still the same, though.
Yeah, same thing, basically. But, and then if they have surplus over the scholarship fund and then the trade schools, then they can use it for bricks and mortar on K through 12. But all that was language that I forced to be placed in there by my dad.
I wonder how much money that is a year from the lottery.
Oh gosh, it's
Wonder if it increases all the time or just.
I haven't kept up with it like that, but I do keep up with it to know that it's making a difference and it's helping change lives and educate young men and women, and hopefully they're going to want to stay here in Tennessee, to get that scholarship and then raise their families here and that sort of thing. That was the hope and prayer. Keeping our best and brightest at home was part of the reason that I did it.
If I remember back before that, when Georgia was doing good with their lottery, we had a lot of people moving to Georgia to work and to maybe go to school or to try to set residence there to get part of that.
And I think we did. Yeah, we sure did. And Georgia would use that lottery down there to help pay for their teachers. Their teacher salaries were a lot higher than we had here.
Yeah, that's right.
And so we had a huge influx of people retiring teaching here and then going just across the line to, they're getting some of our better teachers by doing that and paying them higher salaries.
Maybe that's what I remember. I believe that's what I remember.
Yeah. And we lost a lot of good people that way. Now they've changed the law, and I tried to do it when I was in the Senate. I didn't succeed on this part, but they've changed it now to where you can retire in Tennessee, and then instead of having to go to Georgia to start again, you can start again in Tennessee and keep your retirement and your salary for teaching. That's one reason, that we were losing them. They would retire here, get their retirement from Tennessee, and then they'd get full teaching salary down there. Tennessee wouldn't let you do that. If you retired, you had to stay in retirement. You couldn't come back.
Yeah.
If you came back to teach after you retired, you have to forego your retirement until you retired again and just get your salary. Well, down in Georgia, you could get both. And now in Tennessee you can, and I think that was something that needed to happen way back before it did, but thankfully it's at least happened now.
That made the teacher's salary more feasible, I guess.
It does, yeah, it makes it a lot, yes, it does. It helps them out a lot.
Do you ever know anybody that hit the lottery?
I represented a client or two that have hit the lottery, so I know them that way. I don't know anybody personally, like as a friend, that has hit it yet.
Wonder how that'd change your life.
Well, it didn't do too well for this guy. He didn't fare very well, and he ended up in bankruptcy. So.
Well, it's hard to imagine. Just
it
hard
is.
to imagine.
It is.
But that is very common, isn't it?
It
I
is.
hear.
Yeah, it is.
I wonder why that is.
I think you've got a lot of hands that come out, a lot of relatives come
Yeah.
come out, a
Yeah.
lot of friends come out with their hand out. You have some folks that perhaps weren't the best money managers in the first place, that get a big wad of money and don't know really how to manage it. I'm just hazarding a guess because the stories are rife with lottery winners that end up going bankrupt. I mean, it didn't just happen to this guy. It happens all over the country, I think.
It may be that you just can't deal with people's sad stories or something. Maybe that's it.
Part of it.
Probably
I think
a lot
they
of
want to be
scam
generous.
artists.
They want to.
And plus, if you get it over time,
Right. Yeah.
that's what I'd do. I'd get it over time. That way I wouldn't go broke.
Yeah.
I don't even hardly play the lottery. I bet I hadn't bought a ticket in 10 years.
Yeah, I don't play either unless my wife likes to do it. If it gets real high, she'll go get one, and I might throw her $5 or $10 to get it, but I don't really play it myself.
I don't even, if I have bought it, I don't even look and see if I won. Yeah.
Well, I heard that there was a ticket that went unclaimed here recently. Several $1 million went unclaimed, and then the time ran out, and so that just goes back into the pot.
Ooh, wouldn't that make you sick?
Yeah. They must have thrown that ticket away or lost it or something.
Yeah. When I buy them, I take them back to the store and have them run it through. That way I don't have to look it up.
Right. Well,
But boy, Cleveland is did you live in Nashville when you were state representative? Did you have
I had an apartment over there. I had a condo at one time, and then I moved out of the condo into an apartment. But I mean, I'd stay over there from Monday to Thursday, and so it was either pay a hotel and or get something a little bit more.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to pack in a suitcase twice a week,
Right,
over
right.
and back. You could leave some clothes over there and be able to
Well, it'd be miserable having to.
Yeah.
I bet some people drive there every
First
day.
year or two, that's what I did. I lived in the Days Inn there on the Capitol, or at the Capitol, Days Inn. But
I think I've stayed there. Now it's either not there now you had all you entered from the outside. You didn't go in.
right, it was. I think they took it down when they built the stadium.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, it was.
In fact,
there,
I think it was right where the stadium is.
right where the parking for
Yeah.
the stadium is. Yeah.
Are you glad that you became a lawyer?
I am. I can't think of anything else I'd rather do.
If you had to, what would it be?
I'd probably be some sort of business, and I have my real estate license. I like that pretty well. But I could see myself being deeper into real estate than I am now, or in some form of business. I don't think sales is my big thing, but some form of business, I'm sure.
Why not sales?
Well, I can sell myself. I can sell my services that I do for myself, but I don't know. I don't think I've got that the personality to be able to just keep making cold call after cold call. I sell myself to people that come to my door and come to me and interview me and decide whether they want me as their lawyer or not. And I feel like I'm good at that. But I don't know that I would be good at just going out from place to place to place to place to make cold calls and
I could never do it.
Yeah, I don't think I can.
I couldn't do it.
No, I know some buddies of mine that have that gift, and man, they're good at it. And and they're fun to be around. So you can sort of see
Yeah.
you can sort of see how they're
Yeah.
good at it,
Yeah.
But I don't think that's one of my gifts.
What type of law do you like to practice?
Well, I've had a general practice since I started 35 years ago. I want to talk about that a little bit because I want to give some credit where it's due, and that is that I was in law school at UT, And a lot of people in my class up there, they were, jockeying for jobs in Nashville, New York, all these places. I knew all the time that I wanted to come back to Cleveland to practice. That's why I went to law school, is to come back to Cleveland to practice. Well, it's going to sound like I'm upset with this individual. I'm not. I want you to know that up front. I'm not upset in the least. I think God worked this out perfectly for me. But when I was in law school, there was an attorney in town, Jim Webb. He was a really, really fine attorney. And he was in the barbershop quite a bit. I'd be in the barbershop with Dad, and I'd see Jim and talk to Jim. And he knew that I was in law school, and he told me many, many times that when I graduated law school, that all I had to do is come see him, and he would put me to work. He had a job waiting for me. And so I was very happy about that. I was very secure in that. And so I graduated law school, came back home, studied for the bar, took the bar, waited for the results to come back. I passed the bar. And then I went to see Jim. And I went in there, and he wasn't there. And at the time, Mayo Mashburn was in the same building with him. I don't know that they were partners, but they shared office space. And I said, I'm Jeff Miller. I'm here to see Jim Webb about a job. And he just looked at me and said, I don't know anything about it. And I said, okay, well, and so where is Mr. Webb? He said, well, he's in Hong Kong, on a trip, and he's going to be gone the whole month. And I thought, oh my goodness, So finally, make a long story shorter, Mr. Webb called me from Hong Kong and said, Jeff, he said, I'm sorry. He said, but I just don't have a place for you, and I'm not going to be able to put you to work. And that was sort of devastating at the moment. Now, don't get me wrong, but again, I have no ill will toward Jim Webb. Great man, and he was a great attorney. But what God had in store for me was, and I was fresh off that dejection, and I was downtown on the corner of the courthouse, where you walk across the street to if you went right, it would be where Merchants Bank used to be. If you go straight across, it was toward the block where Cooper's used to be. And I was standing right there, and a man came up, he was waiting to cross the street with me, Carl Collins.
Carl, I love Carl.
Carl Collins. He used to be county judge before they called county executive and then county mayor. He was our chief executive of the county. And he came up and he said, you're Jeff Miller, aren't you? And I said, yes, sir, I am. And he said, I'd like for you to come see me. My office is across the street over there. I'd like for you to come see me. And so I did. And he proceeded to tell me that he had just been appointed as child support referee in the 10th Judicial District, and he no longer could practice law. And he said, I've got these open files, and I've got a phone number. He said, I need somebody to take it over. And I was just flabbergasted. And he had 82 open files. He had a phone number that rang constantly, people wanting, and he just said, here you go. And not only did he do that, but he stayed on as a mentor for me, where I would be able to consult with him and ask questions. And
that was worth a bunch, wasn't it?
Guided me all the way. Yes, absolutely.
What was that worth? More than the 82 clients.
I mean, it was tremendous. I owe my start to Carl Collins, and I just really appreciate what he did for me. And he came, again, I think it was a God thing. I didn't know what I was going to do at that point. And so anyway, that happened, and then he, like I said, he stayed on and helped me with counsel, with good advice and things. But the benefit of that was that from the day one, the very first day that I got sworn in, you have to go through a ceremony of swearing in. And from that day that I got sworn in, right after I got sworn in, I had my first trial. And I've been in court for the last 35 years ever since. And I've been presenting evidence, doing trials, jury trials, all that. So I've done all kinds of law. I've represented people in criminal law. I've represented people in car accidents and slip and falls and dog bites and workers' compensation, land disputes, property line disputes, will contests, just you name it. I've done the broad spectrum of things. And but the key that I think will take me into the DA's office is I do have criminal law experience. I was on the appointment list for Judge Donaghy from the time she took the bench until just the last year or so. And I represented people in her court. And I currently have a forgery case going on in Polk County where a fellow's been charged with forgery. So I've got broad experience in all areas of law, and especially in presenting evidence to a jury and to a judge. And that's what a DA has to do if the DA does the trial at all. You may remember one of our best DAs, Jerry Estes, when he first ran for office, he had no real criminal law experience, and he got elected. And over 16 years of him being our DA, he only had one trial. He only went to court one time. And so that just goes to show you that the real job of the DA is more managerial and leadership than it is trying cases. Your assistants do most of the trying of the cases. And that's not to say I want to try cases, so I'm looking forward to doing that and being in the courtroom. But the biggest job of the DA is managerial and leadership. The DA is known as the chief law enforcement officer of the district. And so leadership is important. You've got to get those sheriffs and chiefs of police and officers and the men and women in blue together and get them educated and pulling in the same direction for a common goal to keep everybody safe. And that's where I think I have the edge over my opponents, in that I have leadership experience. In the state Senate, I was a caucus chairman. The Republican senators across the state elected me to be their leader. And in that number, Senator Marsha Blackburn, that's our current U.S. Senator, she voted for me to be her leader. Tim Burchett, who's the congressman up in Knoxville now, he elected me, he voted for me to be leader. So I have leadership experience of other leaders, and I think that will come in very handy in being able to lead that office where it needs to go.
Are you excited about the opportunity to be the district attorney of Bradley County?
I really am. And it's not only Bradley, it's Polk, Monroe, and McMinn County too. So yes, I'm very excited about it. I have been elected in all four of those counties before. I've served as state senator for Bradley, McMinn, Monroe, and Polk County before. And so I know the area, I know the people, and I am looking forward to it. I love this area. I love the people. I love where I am, and wouldn't think I could be anywhere else.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Dee. I appreciate it.